This is Chapter 2, Section 1, Using Transformations to Graph Quadratic Functions. Lesson 1, Video 4, Vertex Form. So this is the pretty much description of what vertex form is. So f of x is equal to a times, in parentheses, x minus h squared plus k. The a will indicate two separate things, whether it's been reflected over the x-axis or a vertical stretch or compression. It'll be either a reflection and a stretch, a reflection and a compression, or just a stretch or just a compression. H is inside the parentheses, and if you remember, inside parentheses means horizontal, and what you see is opposite, so minus h would mean that you would be going to the right, not the left, but the h does indicate that it is a horizontal translation. The k is on the outside of the parentheses, which indicates it's a vertical translation, and plus is up and minus is down. So the first example says, use the description to write the quadratic function in vertex form and then to graph the function. So the parent function we're using is f of x is equal to x squared. We are going to reflect that over the x-axis and then vertically stretch it by a factor of 2, and finally we're going to translate it by a 3 to the left. So again, we're going to reflect over the x-axis, then we're going to vertically stretch by 2, and finally, we're going to have a horizontal translation of 3 to the left. Therefore, the equation, which we are going to now call g, would be g of x is equal to, the reflection and the vertical translation represent a from the last slide. So we have negative 2 times, now the question for this is, does the horizontal go inside the parentheses or on the outside? And it goes on the inside, and again to the left would be plus 3 squared, and then there is no k, so you could say plus 0 if you want to see what it would look like in place. But again, there is no vertical translation. From here you can make your t-chart, and the beauty with regards to vertex form is that your vertex is given to you. The hk represents the vertex, so our vertex is going to be hk. More specifically, negative hk, because again, when you bring out whatever's inside of the parentheses, it's going to be the opposite. So our vertex is negative 3, 0. So our t-chart can go ahead and start with the middle of negative 3, 0. Then we can plug in negative 4, negative 5, negative 2, and negative 1. When you plug in negative 2, you're going to get negative 2 times negative 2 plus 3 squared, which is equal to negative 2 times 1 squared, which is 1. So negative 2 would be your next point. If you plug in negative 1, that's negative 2 times negative 1 plus 3 squared, which would be negative 1 plus 3 is 2. 2 squared is 4, and 4 times negative 2 is negative 8. Because of symmetry, if you plug in negative 4 and negative 5, you're going to get symmetrical locations to the ones on the other side of the vertex. From here you can graph. We won't be able to do the negative 8s for space reasons, but we can get the other 3 in. So at negative 3, 0, you would plot your first point. Then we get negative 2, 4, negative 2, and then 8 would be down here off of our graph. So we just know that our graph needs to be facing down and that it is relatively steep. Now that's the two different parts that we need to do in order to be able to graph. Now, again, first thing you have to do in this type of example is to write out whatever it is in vertex form. So you're going to take the words of the transformation and put it into vertex form. Then you're going to find the vertex, which is given to you through the fact that it's called vertex form, and remember, it's opposite, same for the vertex. Then you're going to put the vertex in the middle of your T-chart and then do 2 below and 2 above. Go with the 2 smaller numbers to plug them in and find the matching y's. And then just remember that the y's on the other side are symmetrical. Once you've done all that, you can graph those points and you would be done with the question. So for your u-try, you're going to do the exact same thing, and your parent function again is f of x is equal to x squared, and the transformation is vertically compressed by a factor of 1/3 and translated 2 units to the right and 4 units down. You want to call the new transformed function again g. Please make sure you show all of your work at all of your steps, trying to copy those that I did. I would suggest in your notes that you write it out step specific, so step 1, step 2, step 3. Okay? If you have any questions, please bring those into class.